Hi guys, I'm Tanya and this is my March wrap up and some thoughts about what I might read in April. It doesn't sound as good as April TBR, I'm sorry. I'm actually supposed to be packing to go to Edinburgh right now, so I'm probably going to be doing this really quickly and it might not make much sense, but then I never make much sense, so it's all good. The first thing that I read in March was kind of a joke. I came home from a concert determined to start reading about classical music again. This was actually a Christmas present from one of my housemates, and it is What's So Great About Beethoven by Sam Rogers. It's basically a biography of Beethoven for small children, and people that know me in the real world know that I'm absolutely obsessed with Beethoven to the point where it's a little bit unhealthy, and I've written both of my university thesis so far on him. I ended up giving this 2 out of 5 stars because although I think this is a really good idea, and if I'd had something like this as a child it would have been amazing, because I didn't really quite grasp the classical music thing until I actually started my degree really, which is a story for another day. This book had clearly never seen the eyes of a proofreader. There are repeated words missing from sentences, misspelled words, and at one point they even refer to the wrong composer when they're definitely meant to be referring to Beethoven. Like, it's not just they're trying to bring in another composer, they literally sourced the wrong name. So whilst this was a really good idea, it was incredibly poorly written and not proofread. It kind of upset me. But then apparently my housemate bought it knowing this and did it just to wind me up. My next 2 books will come as absolutely no surprise to you if you've seen any of my previous videos. The first of these was City of Lost Souls by Cassandra Clare. I don't really have a lot to say about this. I continue to enjoy this series and I find Sebastian kind of a more present bad guy than Valentine was. There's still so much angst in this book. I also kind of like that Clary's angst about Jace is actually kind of qualified in this book because there is actually something wrong, whereas in previous books it's just angst. So straight after that I moved on to City of Heavenly Fire, the tome as me and Beth were referring to it. As a resolution, I really enjoyed this. I don't understand why it's bigger than the other books because they've just re-released the covers slightly differently to be annoying in the UK. It's a normal sized book and the only reason this is any bigger is because they increased the font size, which there was no reason for. It's bigger than my head. I enjoyed the resolutions for all the character arcs that came in this, although one of the couples that I was rooting for most didn't come off so well, which actually really upset me, but I guess I can't have everything. All I would say is some of the characters make some interesting choices for timing, and it caused me days of merriment. In the end, I gave both of the last 2 books in this series 4 out of 5 stars, because although I really enjoyed them, they weren't like crazy blow me away kind of good. And I'll be glad that Cassandra Clare's new books don't centre around Jason Clary, because 6 books of them was just too much for me. After finishing the brick of a book that City of Heavenly Fire is, I wanted to go in for something a bit lighter, but I was still in a fantasy-ish kind of mood, so I actually picked up The Iron Trial by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare, which is the first in their new series, Magisterium. I feel kind of bad for them that people have been like, oh, you're just trying to be Harry Potter, because it is different. You can't stop authors from writing middle grade aged magic books for the rest of eternity because J.K. Rowling wrote the one series that everyone considers definitive. Harry Potter will always hold a special place in my heart, but sometimes people write new things. Words. I really enjoyed the angle they took with this book because they are trying to go in a different direction with it, and I had a good time reading this. I wasn't immensely hooked like I have been on other series. Mortal Instruments. I enjoyed it. It was a good light read and I will carry on reading this series, and I gave the first book 3 out of 5 stars. In a complete change of direction, I went on to read The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton, and this book blew me away. This was insane and intense, and I text one of my housemates at some point being like, oh my gosh, plot twist. But it wasn't a plot twist as much as the plot unfolding, because you didn't have a clue what was going on a lot of the time and you only really knew what was happening as it unfolded, and I really enjoyed that. Like, it was suspenseful and there were just kind of mysteries being unfolded and unravelled all the time. Yeah, I just really enjoyed this book. So this received a 5 out of 5 stars from me. So the last book that I completed reading in March was, drumroll please, The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. I have finally read this book. This has been out for about 3 years now, which actually isn't as long as I thought, and I've owned the book for over a year. So I'm really glad to finally be able to tick this off of my TBR. And actually, I thought this was amazing. I think maybe it's that I'm deep down a nosy person, but I really enjoyed the insight into all these different people's lives pulling together into one big picture of this ridiculous little town. I was absolutely gutted by the ending. Like, this was quite a dark but truthful exploration of all the different lives that intertwine in day-to-day life. And I'm really glad that I did read it. Maybe it was a good thing that I waited because I wasn't expecting it to be Harry Potter, which meant that I could appreciate it as it was. And yeah, I spent most of the book wanting to punch characters, which is probably what I was supposed to feel. It was rather cathartic. As for April, as I said at the beginning of the video, I'm going away to Edinburgh tomorrow and I don't want to be travelling too heavy. I consequently don't want to be dragging around 5 books out of my TBR pile. So the plan is to take the book that I'm currently reading, which is Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson, and once I finished reading that I'm gonna swap over onto my trusty old Kindle Benedict and reading some stuff off of here. Really, I need to finish Throne of Glass. I'm about a third of the way through the first book and I've just been so distracted by trying to get my TBR down that I haven't finished it yet. 2 of my housemates are absolutely on my tail about reading it because they've both read it and want to be able to shout and howl at the moon about it, but I haven't read it yet, so they need to be a bit quieter in case they spoil me. So I will probably be finishing that off first, and then I've got all sorts of stuff on here that still needs reading, so I will be getting on with that. I'm still really excited for Easter because there's a couple of books that I actually need to buy now, and I'm looking forward to being allowed to go in bookshops again, because that's actually been the worst part, has been not really being able to go in bookshops just to have a look around. Like, that's quite a staple part of my life. I'm excited. So yeah, this has been my March wrap up and some thoughts about what I'm going to read in April. I hope you're all having a lovely week. I hope your Easter holidays are going well if you're off at the minute, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!